Welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Coaching Circle. We're glad to have you here with us today. We're glad to have you here with us every week. We are a team of coaches, and we come here for conversation to chat about things that affect us on a daily. And today we are talking about getting out of the comfort zone. So today we'll split it up a bit. I'll let someone else introduce themselves first. Who wants to go?
I'll go first. Hey guys, it's Alex. I am a coach. You can visit my website at alexantoinette.com or my YouTube channel, Alex Antoinette. We talk about confidence, emotional self-regulation tools, and overall just becoming your best version.
I am Nikki, and I've got a YouTube channel, and it's all about performance, performers' mindset and performance anxiety.
And I am Shiro. I have a website called shirondune.com, and I'm the host of the podcast lostinour40s.com, where we talk about, it's a podcast by women for women, where we talk about finding our way back to our true selves. So welcome. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. This is the Coaching Circle. Welcome in. So, getting out of the comfort zone. I just wanted to put that off. So, getting out of the comfort zone. Where do we start? Well, where do we start on this topic? I'm tempted to point at someone, but maybe I leave it at that because I have something in mind. But let me not put anyone on the spot. Well, who has an initial thought on getting out of the comfort zone?
I think I just wanted to touch upon our comfort zone is like our default zone. Like that's the threshold that we're at capacity for, whether it be for new experiences, whether it be going for something that we're excited about, where there's a certain level of discomfort that we can put up with. And if that container for our discomfort isn't expanded, we're not going to go after the things that are truly exciting for us, that we want to do, but we know we're holding ourselves back. So when we get comfortable with being uncomfortable, then we can stretch that container to then obtain the things that we want to experience, whether that be that job, that relationship, that solo trip across the world, things that scare us, but internally we want to try. So I feel like if we don't expand that, then we literally are holding ourselves back from having a more fulfilling, happier life.
Mm-hmm. Another way of looking at it as well is that your comfort zone can be like an emotion that you're feeling on a regular basis. So such as something like shame or anxiety, if you're feeling that on quite a regular basis, and then there's like a part of you that wants to carry on feeling that emotion, and it needs to create circumstances in order for that emotion to carry on. So it's noticing that and like finding out where that is, and then sort of being conscious of it, and then moving to do the opposite of that.
The first time I heard that, I took offense. when I heard it said that there are bad things that I am actually attracting in because I enjoy them, I really took offense, and I said that's absolutely not possible. I know myself. I'm reasonable. That's not what I'm doing. But then, then sitting down and looking back, it takes a lot of honesty with yourself. to notice a pattern, that things are happening and happening and happening, and then to realize that there is a part of you that enjoys it.
Yeah.
So
there's like a hidden payoff, isn't there? So like if you need to constantly feel like shame, then there's like a payoff to that, is like you're going to create circumstances to make you feel that shame, but then like the payoff to that is that you might feel safe by, if you shrink yourself to be like smaller than other people, then that might make you feel safe, and it might make people like you more if you kind of dim down your light. There's always like a payoff to it as well, I think.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like a payoff, for example, the victim mindset. Not a lot of people would admit to that, but sometimes people subconsciously choose to have like the victim mindset because they get pity from other people, they get attention, they get care, they get like, oh, poor you, you know, or like, oh, I feel so bad for you, like I, you know, and things like that. So it's like they're not forced to change to be better because they're getting the attention and the care, even if it may not always be positive and uplifting for them, there is still a payoff to them remaining in victim mindset because maybe they don't have to blame or take responsibility for how they're truly showing up. They can just blame it on somebody else or outside circumstances, or, you know, it does anything outside of them really, because they're, you know, there's people on their side saying like, oh, it's okay for you to feel like that. And like, you don't need to, you know, you don't need to feel bad. And so it's like almost validating them to still continue to think that way.
Yeah. You're speaking such truth to my heart, because I remember, I'll give an example. There's a period in my life when I didn't want to be in relationships. And I didn't consciously know that I didn't want to be in relationships. So I'd end up, I had an avoidance side. So getting into a relationship that I knew from the offset wouldn't work. And at the end of the relationship, when it ended, I'd be so hurt. I'd be so sad. I'd be so shocked and surprised. Then that's when one day, so with the honesty of sitting back in, I realized that I enjoyed that roller coaster. There was some pleasure that I got in this feeling of woe is me. Yeah. And so maybe an example for people wondering, what are these people talking about? That it happens, I think, to probably all of us in one way or another, that there's something that we are happy to have, even though logically it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I'm glad you pointed out the relationships though, because I feel like there were people out there that have experienced toxic relationships or the back and forth, the up and the down. But it takes two people for that dynamic to continue, right? So a part of you must also like the back and forth, the up and down, more than a loving, safe, calm relationship, because maybe you deem that to be boring. And love that is consistent, caring, and always being there for you should be healthy and something that we should all want. But a lot of people may feel that it's boring and, oh, I don't really have those butterflies, those sparks with that person, so that means I'm not supposed to be with them. Yeah, like that's, maybe you're still attracted to toxicity. Maybe there's a part of you that's emotionally unavailable as well. So when somebody's opening up to you, you get the ick, maybe because both of you at some level aren't emotionally available for one another. And it's like this dance back and forth, a push and pull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So, one of the things we wanted to talk about was changing up routines, doing things differently as a step towards getting out of your comfort zone. Who wants to touch on that? Trying to think.
So
Yeah, go on.
routines, well, I feel like the first thing that comes to mind are like morning and evening routines. And I feel like that kind of sets the tone for the day, and your whole, like your month, your year is comprised of many different decisions. And those decisions are probably based on like certain habits and routines that you have. So, like in the morning, if you're, for example, have your alarm on and you press snooze like 30 times, and then you're like rushing to get ready and you're leaving your for work and you're already late, you're buzzing through traffic like road rage, and then you get there, you're all like full of cortisol and stress and anxiety. That is like a routine you subconsciously have allowed yourself to have, and that has this impact on the decisions that you take throughout your day. But however, on the flip side, if you were to kind of put your alarm on in the morning, let's say for an earlier time, wake up and do like a 10-minute meditation, you're starting off the day on a more calmer foot, and then you're getting ready, you're more at peace, you're more calm when you're moving around, and then you get into your car and you're going through um to your route to work, and you notice a delay, but it doesn't freak you out because you left on time, and then you get to work and you're all good to go, and everything just feels so good because you started the day on the right foot. So I think the routines that we have in place can perpetuate certain feelings of like either anxiety or calmness and confidence. And I just think how it starts your day and how you end your day too. Like for me, I try not to like go to sleep upset or stressed out, or at least like to put myself in a calmer state, because if not, my dreams will reflect that. I'm like, well, waking up like, well, that was a stressful dream. So I like to at least, have some peaceful things that I'm thinking about, or listen to something really good before I go to bed, because it that's the tone that I'm setting for my evening. So that is my example of like the routine that if you don't have a good one in the beginning of your day, it has this snowball effect for the rest of the day on going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think your life direction is a combination of all your little habits, isn't it, throughout your life and throughout each day. So if you start off with like a good habit and that snowballs into other good habits, then you end up in a better destination. If you have a bunch of bad habits like getting up late, then eating the wrong foods, like unhealthy foods, not exercising, then where are you going to end up then? It's not going to be in a great place. So life really is a combination of all those different routines. So if you can get yourself in a good place and in good routines, then you'll definitely end up in a better destination. And I think for me, with actually following through on the good routines, it's about making that decision and making it with like an emotion to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to make better choices. And then, for instance, if it's something like going to the gym, so you've decided you're going, and then you don't hesitate. You don't go and sit on the couch and watch TV. You decide, put your gym clothes on, and you go to the gym straight away. So.
I'm also thinking of it in terms of doing things differently to get just an access to you see life from different perspectives. The example I'll give when it's what's come to mind when I was in primary school, when I was very young, I had one route. I'd only ever go one way. There are 1,000 different routes I could take, but then I only had one route that I'd take. And I remember reading a book at the time, something I was very much into detectives and murder mysteries and things like that. And what they were saying is that that's how you're targeted. You're just using the same route. So I liked that then as a child, and I told myself, okay, fine, maybe you can find other ways of doing things. But part of what it opened me up to is, and it's part of what I try to do now, is to see different ways of doing things. That if I'm always ever doing one thing ever all the time, then I miss out on the opportunity of seeing other things that might be there. And because this has then become so comfortable for me. If I always ever shop from the same supermarket, as an example, maybe I've done my research and it's the best one, but perhaps there's some fresh fruits available somewhere else. So I think it adds a little spark in life to be able to just, yes, do things in a particular way, but to also be expansive and giving yourself more dimensionality and being able to do other kinds of things. Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there, Shiro, because I think routines are good to kind of get us into the habit of being consistent with something. if it's a habit we want to have in our life or an experience we want to experience. However, once we've kind of hit that capacity and we're like content with life and we're not pushing ourselves to grow, is then when we need to get out of that routine, to stretch out of our comfort zone, to go beyond, to do something that will expand us to become a more evolved version of ourselves. Because if you're content with your job, you're content with your friends, and but you want more of life, and how are you going to go about doing that? It requires you to step out of your comfort zone by meeting new people, by going to an event, even if it's by yourself. Like, what I'm saying is, it's like if you're content and you want more of life and everything seems to be, decent, maybe that's your cue to step out of that comfort zone, try something new, and get exposure to the things that you need to be exposed to get where your next level version of yourself will need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like sitting in the discomfort as well, knowing that you are going to feel uncomfortable and making a decision, okay, I'm just going to sit in this discomfort, because on the other side of that could be the life of your dreams. Or if you need to do something that's really difficult, then or something that's going to be really good and really life changing, it probably is going to be difficult, and you are going to feel discomfort the first time you do it. So it's just about knowing that and sitting in that.
I like that you've mentioned it I want to emphasize something you've said, the decision to sit in that discomfort. The first time I heard about sitting in discomfort, there are a lot of, even that was an uncomfortable conversation. Why am I sitting in discomfort? What is this going on? I hadn't realized that it was an available option, because I think for me it was just reactive. If it's uncomfortable, I want it gone. I don't want to be there. So this decision of saying that yes, this is uncomfortable, but I am choosing to do this, took some mental power and some staying power. And I had to tell myself, this is something we're doing because we've decided we're going to do it, and we're going to be okay.
Yeah, like you're not going to die if you are feeling nervous, for instance. You'll be okay. I say that to myself a lot.
And like through that, it kind of just increases your emotional intelligence, right? Because you can now differentiate the different feelings and sensations you have within your own body. And better yet, you can now provide that safe space for other people when they're sitting in their discomfort, because that doesn't scare you, because you've dealt with it on you know how to deal with it within yourself. So therefore you can appropriately show up for other people when they need that safe space.
Great. There's something you touched on, Alex, at the beginning that I want us to go back to a little bit. You spoke about the container and creating space and expanding space. And would you shed a bit more light on that and what you meant for someone who's hearing about this container, wondering what it is?
Yeah, I think it's our capacity, our emotional capacity to receive or to allow ourselves to get the exposure to something. So, for example, I'm pretty sure everyone has had this to a different level. It's like self-sabotage. It's like they want something and then they self-sabotage it because it's either too good to be true, or they think on all these negative thoughts and like this person can't be completely, absolutely like faithful to me. So I'm going to look at all the red flags or find things that aren't there. Because it requires us to be a different version of ourselves to have that desire or to have that experience. But if we want, for example, to have a business, you would have to be uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable about not knowing everything about a business. And even though they may be anxieties and frustrations and straight up feeling like overwhelmed from time to time, those feelings aren't going to prevent you from still learning and wanting to have the overarching theme of that big vision of you having your business. It's like, what's more important, Like, what are you giving more attention to? The anxieties and the fears and the frustration, or is your vision of that desire of having that dream business more something that you want to drive towards to? So in order to get to that vision, how are we going to deal with these uncomfortable feelings over here? We need to sit with them. We need to be like, it's okay that we feel this. Everyone that's doing something new is always going to have these feelings of discomfort. So how can I feel safe in what I'm doing, but also expand myself to take take the steps needed to accomplish my goals? So that I feel is like through the self emotional self-regulation tools like the somatic shaking, the EFT tapping, the breathing exercises, meditation, things like that. When we feel those feelings in the moment as it happens, to take the time to release those emotions or to sit with them, because if not, it kind of snowballs out of control a bit. Like that's how anxiety and panic attacks occur. And, we're overwhelmed with all these feelings, and then we get stuck in analysis paralysis, and then we just haven't taken an action toward that bigger goal that we had in mind or that experience we wanted to have.
Yeah, I agree with like the sitting with the emotions thing. That's been really helpful for me. Because if you try and repress them and shove them down, what you resist persists. So if you just sit with it and accept it and almost like give it a hug, like if it's anxiety, it's like a scared child, like give it a hug and notice it there and observe it, and you'll see that it'll like disappear, it'll like dissipate.
Yeah. And I think the people who have the struggle with the most are people who avoid their feelings, or who
Yeah.
avoid having anything with feelings because they define themselves as a logical person, and that's it. They what's feelings to them. But it's unfortunate because it really limits their capacity to be emotionally available, to have authentic, fulfilling relationships with another person, whether they be a romantic partner or friendships, because it's very transactional. When it's just illogical, you're not getting the true intimacy of being vulnerable and authentic and, sharing all sides of you, because you're not comfortable doing that for yourself. You're definitely not going to feel comfortable exposing that side to with other people, or when other people expose that vulnerable side to you, you're gonna be like, this is weird, like you're being too much, I'm getting the ick, and then you run in the other direction. So I think it's just being emotionally available in general for yourself, therefore for other people. And yeah, like it also, I feel like you really have to have a strong sense of like self-love and self-worth through all of this, because when you truly have something of a desire that you want to have, you may feel scared, but your desire that in your heart that you are meant to experience, that is what keeps pushing you forward. And you trust yourself that you may not have all the answers, you might not know everything what to do, but you trust that when the time comes, you will know what to do, or you'll have the guidance, or you trust yourself enough to like take the right actions. So it all comes back to yourself and what the capacity you're able to receive, and to hold space for yourself. And that container ends up getting bigger and bigger, but it all starts with trying to get ourselves out of that comfort zone first, right? If you don't like to be seen, maybe go outside your neighborhood, go for a walk and let people see you, maybe say hi. I'm not saying make a YouTube video and expose yourself to the whole world if you're not ready for that. Starting off small, but showing up for yourself in those like awkward moments, because when you're truly comfortable with yourself, you won't necessarily feel awkward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
It really does. And I was going to give a shout out to the good girls who are watching. The good girls who then might have it might sound very good sometimes, and it might sound very hard, but just to understand that it's actually not hard, because you don't have to start, as Alex just said, you don't have to start at the finish line. You can start with just whatever it is that feels comfortable on that day. It could be that on this day you're going to have that uncomfortable telephone conversation. And how sitting in the feelings and sitting in the discomfort looks like is knowing, you know that this is not going to be comfortable, and you accept it. You accept that this situation I'm about to get into is not going to be comfortable. And you might feel the anxiety, you feel it. If you feel it in your tummy, wherever it is you feel it in your body, feel it. Don't run away from it. You just allow it to be. Breathe, breathe. Let the experience flow through you. And that in itself would already start calming you. And you get the realization that Nikki said, you won't die. You won't die by making that phone call. And that gives you a bit of a push, a little bit of more confidence than you had before. You'd be able to stand your feet more firmly when for whatever reason it is that you don't want to have the call with the other person. Let's say it's someone who's always who you find very harsh, who you find very difficult to speak to, then you might be able to find your voice and tell them that you do not appreciate the tone of voice. Why? Because you've calmed yourself down. You realize that it's going to be okay. That it is going to be okay. That phone call you're going to have is going to be okay. Your body now, you get out of your head, you're more in your body, and you can actually feel what's going on in your body. The feelings have moved around, the emotions have moved around, you're settled. And you can do it. You take one small step today with a phone call, take another small step tomorrow, greet a neighbor, whatever it is that your area of discomfort is, incremental small steps. And before you know it, you're on the moon. Yeah.
I love that you said about the phone call, Shiro, because I feel like sometimes we're afraid to upset the other person on the other end of the phone call. Or the other thing is we get so overwhelmed internally that we're like, I can't deal with the discomfort that I'm feeling, so I'm going to avoid this conversation. However, once you sit with those feelings and you tend to calm yourself doing that, and you feel more centered with yourself, you're speaking your truth. And when you're speaking your truth, it's not like you disregard how other people are showing up, but it's not like now you are manipulating them to show up a certain way. So if they get upset, you're not going to take it so personally, like, oh my God, that they hate me. You're gonna get, you're not going to take it that way. You're gonna be like, it's okay if they're upset. That's fine. And I'm not gonna be here to manage their feelings like that because it's kind of people pleasing and manipulative in that case. So, and through sometimes these tough conversations, the beautiful part is if both parties are open and vulnerable, honest, they end up getting closer because of that. That's where the intimacy lies. It's through these uncomfortable conversations where and I can tell you that I'm upset and you can hear me out. And rather you getting defensive, you listening to me, because this took a lot of guts for me to tell you, and you held the space enough for me to like listen to what I had to say. And um, rather than attacking me, you're also coming at me at oh wow, I didn't know how it was coming off. How could I better approach this? And then through that, you guys feel more connected. So it's like having these hard conversations can lead to intimacy and closer connections, but it really starts with doing that with ourselves first before we can able to show that way or show up with that way with others.
Mm, really good. I have a question for you, Nikki. The old identity. What is the old identity and why? How are we stepping into different identities? What's all that about?
I think the old identity is like the default identity. So for me, it's like the doubting person, the shy person, the person that doesn't feel good enough. So it's really about like looking at that old identity and saying, is this loving to myself? And if it's not, then how can I change that? But I think the first step is becoming aware of it, and then focusing on who do I want to be and how do I want to show up in the world, and then meditating on that and visualizing the person that you want to be, and then acting in accordance with that person.
Really good. I've thought of how once in the example I've just given, once you were able to make that phone call, you put it back down. Then the next time you're going to have a phone call with the same person or someone else who had the same effect on you, you could do two things. You could step in to what you've learned the last time. You realize that it worked, you didn't die. But sometimes we might feel the same kind of feelings again. We might forget the learnings we got and then decide that we don't want to do it anymore, and run away and hide. So that's also part of the journey, building up on what we've learned before, and not, once we've passed a stage, striving not to go back. Taking the incremental steps so that you don't go back to the bottom of the ladder. Then you just have the faith in yourself and the push in yourself to say, it worked last time, it will work again this time, and I can continue taking it forward.
Yeah, I think also, I think we talked about it before, like self-compassion is quite important. Like if you do mess up, then that's okay, but just strike that and just sort of draw a line under it and carry on to the person that you want to be. And I think if you've got that vision, that really strong vision of who you want to be, then that can pull you forward then. And if there's something you particularly want to do, like if you want to be a coach or want to have a YouTube channel or something like that, then that vision can pull you forward, and you decide what kind of person do I need to be to do that, and that can pull you forward as well, so that you're not going back to those old patterns.
I've just had a question pop into my mind, and I'll give you time to think about it, because it's not a fair question, as I often do. So the unfair question is, what have you done that scared you? An example of something that you did that scared you. And as you're thinking about that, let's talk about safety a little bit. The notion of safety, that how do you get to feel safe with yourself? And I don't even have an answer right now. Maybe I can start. How do you get to feel safe in yourself? It's what we've been talking about, yeah. In showing up within your truth, being your authentic self, figuring out that, if I go back to the conversation on the phone, that this person is pushing, I don't like how they talk to me, then that is a boundary, and I can let them know that this is my boundary. Doing such things is increasing your safety net, your space of safety, because then you do not have to run away from that person, because you have stood up for yourself and said that this is something that is important for me. And if they do not respect your boundaries, then you're at liberty to block them. You don't need to interact them on the phone. So that is one way of creating safety, standing up for yourself and being in your truth.
Yeah, connecting with your body and being in your own body, I think, is another major one. And something I found helpful is knowing that there is a separation between me and you, or there's a separation between me and another person. So you don't have to take on the emotions of another person. They are their emotions, and you have your own emotions, and you're only responsible for yourself.
Okay. So, scary things. Who wants to go first?
Oh, scary things that we've done?
Mhm. Something you found scary and still did.
I feel like getting ourselves out on like YouTube was probably a big step for all of us at some point. I feel like for a while I think I even mentioned in one of my videos that I wanted to go on YouTube, but I was like, oh no, that sounds so scary. I could never, you know? I was always somebody that I felt like I dealt with a lot of like anxieties, and I needed to know everything that was going to happen. I needed to have like the whole structure. Um, but creating the safety like within my own body and feeling comfortable within myself, I was able to slowly but surely stretch my rubber band when it came to like that social media part. So it started with I had a YouTube account already, but it was like I'm posting, I'm showing my face. That's crazy, And then I'm like, but once I did the first one, I was like, I'm gonna do it again, because it got me excited. Because I was like, the thing that scared me is the thing that got me excited after I started to do it. So now it's like second nature. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do it. Now we went from there to recording collabs together to then like live streaming. So it's like, it's so crazy because before I would have been like, I could never. And now I'm like, this is easy now.
Yeah, I think my thing was singing on stage for the first time. That was like super scary to me. I'd had a fear of it for years, and then yeah, it was for me. I had to start off small and work my way up to singing in front of a bigger crowd of people. But yeah, on the other side of that was like amazing. Like I felt amazing, and people really enjoyed it. So I think on the other side of those scary things, there's always something really big on the other side of
Hmm.
it.
And now Nikki sings all the time. She performs all the time. So it's like that was the things that we want to do, like they scare us, but it's like that's when we know we got to do it because it also excites us at the same time. And when we do it, it's like, all right, I overcame this. What else can I keep doing that I'm excited about? So that's always
Exactly.
a fun feeling.
No, true, true, true. And I I had a blog a long, long, long time ago. I had a blog that was anonymous, so I wasn't ready to be seen. I wasn't. It was running. It's still there. It was anonymous. It was running for a long, long time. Then the writing for me is what was not just the writing, but writing and being seen. So coming from there, I've just finished my book, Date Like Cleopatra. The Good Girl Flips the Script. And the entire process was scary. Everything about it was scary, but now I can look back, it's written, and now I'm thinking, okay, that I lived, I survived, and it actually, now looking back, it wasn't the things that were scaring me. I look back and wonder, but no, that's now we can write another one. So
Wow, that's
absolutely,
amazing.
absolutely. Those are the things we'd noted to discuss. Who has something more to throw in? Please go ahead.
I would say, just like closing thoughts, it has to do with to get out of your comfort zone, you got to feel safe within your body. Personally, what I use is this self-regulation, emotional self-regulation tools, and then take a small action that'll get us exposed to something that will stretch our capacity to receive or expand our capacity to go after what it is that we want. So if it's a fear of being seen, like we were saying, maybe instead of going live streaming on social media, maybe start off small and go walk in your neighborhood and say hi to your neighbors if you come across them. Next step would be eat at a restaurant alone. Next would be record a video but not post it. Next would be um, post it on social media. Next would be do a video collab. Next would be then like live streaming. It's like work your way up to feel more comfortable to be seen, because when you kind of go from 0 to 100 and try to just go straight to it, you might feel overwhelmed and feel so scared and never do that again. So we want to work our way up to that, and it's totally possible. Just do what feels right in the moment that kind of excites you and also scares you, but is doable enough to at least take that action on.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. And I think to add to that is make the decision. Make a decision with a heightened emotion. So enough is enough. I'm going to change this, and then take some action to change it. And yeah, I definitely agree with Alex about working up, starting off small and working up. And then have the self compassion that if anything does go wrong, it doesn't matter, and just carry on regardless.
Yeah, and my thought that I'll add is have the audacity to think big. Your area of comfort is comfortable, it's fine, you're used to it, but what if you could go to the moon? What have the audacity to think bigger, and thinking bigger creates the room to try different paths and to try different things. Yeah. So then that is our show for today. We thank you so much for joining us. We shall see you again next week at the same time at the same place. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.